Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios and brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson's The Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We're here with a terrific lady who's dubbed the Queen of House Music by Billboard Magazine, Guardian of the Threshold, and the Holy Grail of house music. It's not the Monty Python version, and we'll find out why on that one. She's president of TRAX Records of Chicago, which is the Motown of a generation, and she also worked with Grandmaster Melly Mel, Joe Smooth, Marshall Jefferson, Colonel Abrams, George Clinton, and currently works with Irene Michaels, Luca Gerlin, DJ Thad X, and Satek, and more. And of course, she also talked about her first single, which actually was the beginning of TRAX Records, and the history behind the whole thing, and also some breaking news regarding her latest release, Rising, which comes in many versions, but the one special version is getting a special treatment. We're gonna find out what it is. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios, somewhere between Nashville, Chicago, just about anywhere you go, somewhere in the United States, the Queen of House Music, the Guardian of the Threshold, and the Holy Grail of House Music. Ladies and gentlemen, the multi-talented Rachael Cain, or best known as Screamin Rachael. Rachael, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Exactly. Yes. I'm screaming. I'm excited. I've been listening to your show, and I'm really happy to be a guest. A lot of really good things have been happening to me. I just had a 6,000 word feature in Rolling Stone in May, and I was in Chicago magazine in April. So just a lot of coverage. I know you also, I believe, were in the Hollywood Digest, which I was, for hot summer sizzling singles. Not
Yes, that's right. And Lisa, feature what? Podcast, singles, artists, influencers, like a King Scroll. And of course, I think you made the list quite some time back. And what's great about the Hollywood Digest, this is my third year in a row that I got placed in the top 25. I gotta say that, that New York Weekly Times, LA Weekly Times. I mean, the stuff just keeps coming. Gotta say that. So for all of us here, not just one, but all of us, which is great. So
well, that's why we're here on your show, or that's why I'm here on your show. And as you said, have to thank Jimmy and Eileen for their wonderful introductions, because I would say you're on fire like that.
and certainly indeed, and it's rising like crazy. And why it's rising, we'll find about that. You've been dubbed the Queen of House Music by Billboard. You're the Guardian of the Threshold and the Holy Grail of house music. You're president of TRAX Records of Chicago, and also worked with Grandmaster Melly Mel, Joe Smooth, and also Colonel Abrams, George Clinton. And you're currently working with Irene Michaels and more. And we'll talk about your first single, which is kind of like the beginning of a great career you have, and also Next Generation. And we'll talk about Rising as well. Before we get into all that, Rachael, tell us how you first got started.
Well, the thing is, I was always a kid who loved to sing, loved to dance, and loved to act. And I actually went on to study at the Strasberg Institute in New York. And currently I'm in 6 films that you can see on Amazon, Tubi, and other platforms. 3 of them are the Vamp Bikers trilogy. And then up and coming to be released on August 18th is going to be The Duke of New York.
The Duke of New York. That is really interesting. I mean, her like, the Duke of this, the Duke of that, but the Duke of New York.
New York.
Oh, that's gonna be a challenge right there.
Actually, that is out now. I made a mistake, because the thing that is going to be released in August, I get so confused. I have so many movies for you to see. And I really do. I've done movie with John Leguizamo and so many other people. Angel Salazar from Scarface, Apache Ramos from The Warriors. So acting has always been a big thing too. But then I started getting into house music, because being from Chicago, which I know you lived there too, house music was something that was really going on during my, important growing up years. And I was one of the people who originated it, along with a couple of my friends, and basically landed at TRAX Records, where I came up with the trademark, TRAX, TRAX, as well as just, later on, years later, became the president.
How do you like that? And not just a Duke, but a president. How do you like that? And
Exactly. And the new movie is called Enter Requiem, by the way. So
it
that
is okay.
and the thing with Enter Requiem is that is probably going to be my biggest recent leading role. And it's pretty cool because I play a reporter. It involves rape, the overturn of Roe v. Wade, and a lot of interesting topics. But I'm not going to give away the plot. You'll just have to see it on Amazon, Tubi, or another one of those outlets.
And of course, we'll love to have you back and talk more about those and some of your other works. And what was that one precise moment that simply influenced you into what you do in the rest of your career?
Well, I would say that I was at a teen warehouse party at a place called the Space Place. And this was after I recorded Fantasy, which Rolling Stone claimed to be really the first vocal house record. So that's in the May issue of Rolling Stone. And they've pinned it that way. And so basically a kid came up to me at this warehouse party when it was being busted, by the way. These
Ah,
warehouse.
darn it. I
Yeah,
was trying to get there. I was wondering why everybody was running out there. I was hoping
yeah,
to
that's
sneak in.
exactly. That was the point. But the kid told me, hey, Frankie Knuckles is mixing your record down at the warehouse. Now, the
Really?
warehouse was around the block. Frankie Knuckles became the godfather of house music. And I never heard the term mixing before, but of course now house music is all about DJs and mixing. And I even DJ myself, but I think going to Frankie Knuckles' warehouse club, walking in and watching all the wonderful people, just vibing off this powerful music, turned me into a house head and really changed my life.
That is so interesting. And that once you got to be the queen of house music and more into that, or who are some of your favorite artists, singers, and musicians growing up, and especially with the actors you talked about the movie industry.
Well, it's really interesting because as far as like favorite vocalists, a lot of people would think, well, she probably pick some kind of like Pat Benatar or something like that. Now, Pat Benatar is good, but I would really say people like Lolita Holloway, people like Billie Holiday, um, people like Dinah Washington. I really enjoy the blues and have been influenced by that a lot. And then as far as the rock and roll part, love Mick Jagger. Also, a lot of these punk bands, because I really started out in punk rock. So I would say Exene of the band X. I like the Bad Brains. I love the Ramones, but those were some of the acts that I really loved. And then, of course, I went on to work with the house music pioneers like Joe Smooth. And then, of course, the godfather, who is now the godfather of funk, George Clinton. Of course, I even got to go on the road with James Brown. So he was the original godfather of funk. So I guess I've really had a well-rounded career, and those were my musical influences. And then as far as acting, let's see. I really like, oh gosh, so many. I'm trying to think. Jane Fonda has been a big influence. I love her. I know that she studied method. Interestingly enough, Marilyn Monroe was a big like method person, and she studied with at the Strasberg Institute as well.
Hmm.
Uh, Lee Strasberg was her original teacher, and I took for about 3 years the professional acting class over there. So Marilyn Monroe, Jane Fonda. I'm trying to think who I would like today, but basically, I think that those two have had a really big effect on me.
And certainly does as well too. You talk about a blues influence, especially in Chicago. How about Muddy Waters, where he originated from
Oh,
Chicago, and especially Chess Records, making it happen. It's like that's like the king of blues right there. Chess Records, Muddy Waters. I mean, that was like a perfect marriage.
well, you're so right, because Chess Records, a lot of people compare TRAX Records to Chess Records, or they compare it to Motown. Many articles have said, the Motown of house music, just as many articles from Amsterdam to New York have, kind of dubbed me the Queen of House. And I guess even before Billboard did that, that started out with my first big record deal, which was with a company bought by Universal called Teldec. So, and interestingly enough, Teldec had a lot of personalities, including Marilyn Monroe's musical catalog.
How do you
So,
like that?
yeah. So, of course, she was dead for a long time when they signed me, but it was interesting to be a label mate to somebody like that. So they were an impressive label, and I was the first house music artist to actually get a major label deal. And that I got out of Cannes, where they hold the International Music Festival called Meet 'em. And it was exciting times, and the times are still very exciting. I mean, this year has been like a whirlwind, and it really has.
You talked about your first single, "Fantasy" as well too, but the one that really made you was, "My Main Man."
True. That was a huge song, very huge. And it's the first one that probably put me on the map in a big way, both in New York and Chicago, because those cities, if you had to think about, where did it first really jump off? You'd have to say Chicago, then New York. And really, then I would have to say Germany and then France. And of course, England. Now, England can't get enough of us. But yeah, really, they cannot. It's really kind of cool. But most of our new artists, which is interesting, are out of Italy.
How do you
So
like that?
I know it's just, people like Luca Gerlin and DJ Franchetti and D-Beat and so many others that are really coming out of Italy. Carmelo Carone, these are all like names that are really charting these days. And then, of course, I can't forget our big English act, which is Daniel Smith, who's known as Late Night Dub Addict. He's really getting out there a whole lot. And I personally love some of this, a lot of the new music, really, like Molly and Taco. I mean, these are like, if you really listen to a lot of the new music on TRAX, which is distributed by Sony, but you can also find, like the fans like Bandcamp, so it's also there because fans love Bandcamp. Let's put it that way. Sony has it on, Spotify. I really recommend, so that people can hear all the versions of Rising, that everybody go to the Screamin Rachael Spotify page, because that's where you can hear My Main Man. You can hear my big crossover hit that I did with Africa Bambaataa called Fun with Bad Boys, which was known as the first hip house record. Now, today, hip house is getting huge because people like Kanye West are rapping on house records, and Drake.
Kanye West, I could see something like that. I think he's trying to take away a label from you or something. It's like call like the king of house music, or say like, the second queen of house music, the way things are going. So
I wouldn't doubt it. It's been 2 times that he sampled us and put out the song before actually making a deal. And the first one was a song called Boom Boom, which was really very like kind of rare. Not a lot of people even knew about that record. But his manager came to meet me in LA, a guy named John Monopoly, when I had my residency at the Ace Hotel in downtown LA. And basically, said, well, Kanye wants to use one of your songs. And I'm like, okay, what song? And he says, Boom Boom. And I say, well, we have 2 tracks called Boom Boom. So which one is it? And he said, just go to KanyeWest.com.
go to Kanye West. Oh my goodness. Only ye can do that. So
yeah. And the funny thing about it was, at that point in time, when you went to KanyeWest.com, there wasn't even a picture of Kanye West. All that there was a music note and press play. And it turned out to be the song that he used our sample with. So it was very interesting because he just doesn't care. Now, currently, he has sampled Move Your Body, which is the house music anthem. And a lot of people that are watching your show are going to know that track. But again, he did it without any kind of authority to do so. We finally have settled on the publishing part, but we have yet to sample, and get that cleared up on the master side.
Hmm. And I'm sure he'll make big news about that too. You got to watch out. And of course, you also worked with another artist out of Chicago as well too, and also more about Rising as well too. A big announcement. You also did The Next Generation. You used to Hold Me and more with Rachael Cain, best known as Screamin Rachael, here on the Mike Wagner Show. First of all, you listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com. It's powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. And if you're looking for a professional website without breaking your budget, Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. And mention the Mike Wagner Show. Make sure you get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. And time for our official sponsor. Shout out to our official sponsor, the Mike Wagner Show, international war-ring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those you love be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews. And Eve 11 enjoys by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forge Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com or 40 podcast platforms. Heard in 100 countries, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, plus Apple, Audible, and also follow us on BitChute, Rumble, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Also on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and more. Make sure you take us with you on any mobile device. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies, makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com, check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast, and for more great gift ideas like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles, T-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, want to give a gift? You got it right here. Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia. Check it out today and support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. We're here with the amazing, multi-talented Rachael Cain, best known as Screamin Rachael, here on the Mike Wagner Show, the Queen of House Music by Billboard, the Guardian of the Threshold, and the Holy Grail of House Music. and then how'd you come up with the name Guardian of the Threshold as well, too? And a little bit of story behind that. Not the Guardians of the Galaxy on the movies, but the Guardian of the Threshold. I seem to like that.
Well, what it really came down to was TRAX went through a lot of tumultuous times, but through all those times, I was the one that fought the good fight and managed to actually free the older catalog of music from some of the largest companies really in the world.
Mhm.
I'm not really supposed to name them, but I can tell you that these were giant companies. I also had to fight with people like TAP that managed Dua Lipa. And the reason for that is everyone wanted my TRAX trademark. Everyone wanted to take over my company. But, I wouldn't allow myself to be bought out. Maybe that wasn't the smartest thing on my part, because when you don't sell out to people, sometimes people come to take what you have by suing you or blackmailing you or doing other kinds of nefarious things. Because, sometimes big people are not used to hearing the word no. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm the guardian of it, because I have fought so hard to preserve it and really to keep those songs that are the foundation of house music in the United States and Chicago in particular, because we're talking about a couple major, huge overseas companies.
That is something. And of course, also being the holy grail of house music. It's not the Monty Python version. And maybe a bit more about that. The holy grail of house music. I like that one too.
Well, I would think that that's really because TRAX Records is just known as the original home of house music. There is no other label in the world that comes close to our reputation for house music. And I think if you would talk to Daft Punk or David Guetta, Joe Smooth, or some of the largest supersized DJs in the world, because now, DJs are really more popular than live acts. And that is why, even though I'm a vocalist, writer, produce live music as well, and of course produce house music, in house music, you really need to be a DJ. It's part of the culture that we created. DJ culture.
And certainly did. And I think about DJs back in the day, you get up on stage, even like in Europe, you play to like what, like a small crowd, maybe 100, then 500, 1,000, 3, 5, 10, 20, 50, or like 100,000 stadium and all that. It's like, it used to be turntables, now it's just laptops. I mean, what's like the next best thing to like, DJs and trying to think of like one of them, like the Chainsmokers. What were they, like, made 25 million that one year? Oh my God.
And it's interesting because actually I am label mates with the Chainsmokers because they are distributed by Sony Orchard as artists, and Sony Orchard does distribute TRAX Records. So it's kind of interesting that, we have that connection. And I'm really happy to also say it's quite a wonderful thing that next month, Joe Smooth is going to be opening up for David Guetta. So
Nice.
Smooth has done a wonderful mix on Rising that we're going to release soon. Also, Spada, which you may know of or you may not, but across the pond, and of course everywhere in Europe, Spada is huge. And Joe Smooth is also huge. He's known for the anthem Promised Land. So it's always been exciting to work with Joe all these years, and I'm so happy for him to be opening for David Guetta. There's going to be hundreds of thousands of people there. So, I can't give him enough kudos for all that he's accomplished.
You also working and associating with a local talent in Chicago, Irene Michaels, and tell us about that.
Oh, Irene Michaels is fantastic. Have you had her on the show yet?
Yes, I have, and totally amazing. I gotta say that when that name come up, it's like she's got to get a lot of love out of this one, especially from you.
Yeah, and I really do love her. In fact, it was me that encouraged her to do house music. I saw her performing in a small club, and I just said, Irene, I think you should really allow me to produce some house music for you. And of course, I did everything, from start to finish, everything from getting the image together by a famous designer, Michael White, who's a line Equatoria. He's designed for Shaka Khan and Diana Ross and Michael Jackson and Bob Marley. So then he designed, of course, for Irene Michaels, and she's got some super looks that he put together for her. And then as well as, the music that Joe Smooth and I created for her. And then, I've got the newcomer. As a matter of fact, my new song, Rising, I really wrote along with, and I'm kind of the featured vocalist, but really the whole project started out with a Nashville DJ called DJ Thad X. So, and Thad X has been also creating those big room, powerful mixes for Irene Michaels. So we've kind of run the gamut with her from commercial house along the lines of what Beyonce and Drake has done to, underground big room, the kind of thing that you'd hear at a big like festival. So, but I love her. And especially because, oh my God, she's 78, but you'd never
Wow.
know it by looking at her. I mean, you'd never know it. She's gorgeous. And, I can't say enough about her. I mean, she must have a time machine in her closet because seriously.
Or one of those devices that you make it look younger too, and I can see that. I mean, many of us could use that. And of course, speaking about Rising, and you did a number of versions and albums, song, and everything. It tell us a bit more about that. What's it about, and what inspired you to write Rising?
Well, the thing about Rising is there was a time when, due to these large companies that I'm not free to name because of a settlement agreement that we have, was in charge of the older tracks, not anything that happened since 2007. So that's quite a long time that, I've created a lot of new music with a lot of great new artists. But the artists that started out, earlier on, they were blaming me for what this large company did. What the
Really?
large
Why is that?
Because, they did not know about that exclusive license that I didn't sign. It's kind of a long, complex story, but at the end of the day, I think everyone's going to know the truth. I can't name the companies, but, pretty much if you look online, the companies pretty much name themselves. And though I'm not free to say whom, it's out there, who did it. And the main thing that they did was not pay the artists. And so it took a lot of litigation to finally get that music freed up. And I'm hoping that soon a lot of these artists that have this resentment will stop having it and realize what truly did happen.
And certainly indeed as well too, and of course being a leader as well too, and not just Rising and Dead, My Main Man. You also did The Next Generation. You Used to Hold Me, Queen of House, Acidic, and You Do Sexy as well too. And you got some singles out there too, which are popular on Spotify. Follow This Beat, Perfect Love, Fun with Bad Boys, and the title track to Used to Hold Me. And tell us more about those albums and highlight some of the songs, what inspired you to write. And if there's other I haven't mentioned, feel free to do so.
Okay, well, the first thing is I'm going to finish the story of Rising because I kind of got off track.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
Okay.
It's I mean, that's what we're here for. We
Yeah,
let you express yourself.
freestyle. I like
There
that.
you go. Yeah.
Exactly. So the thing was that I was at a kind of a low point, because a lot of people were actually kind of putting me down, not believing me, et cetera, et cetera. And so some of my most supportive fans and actually some of my most supportive producers got behind me. We all worked together. And the song Rising is kind of like rising above, the din, the people that don't know the truth, and taking the whole thing to the top. And that's what we've been doing. The Grammy nomination certainly shows that. But now what's really exciting is we're going to have the remixes come out before the Grammys. So we'll still be able to actually nominate for Remixer of the Year for the new remixes. But the thing that I wanted to say about Rising, besides the fact that these people just, they made my soul soar. They made me feel so good about myself, and I needed that. And now what happened with Rising is, our vinyl, we now have a director of vinyl, because not everything can be sold on vinyl, but a lot of really good dance music can. So the director of vinyl, Paul Braziel, actually traveled the world. And this is an interesting story. I'm saying he traveled the world and got some of the best remixes you could imagine.
Wow.
From Paris, from Brazil, from, England, from France. I mean, all this kind of thing. It's quite amazing what he really did. And I love the fact that he traveled, played it for these DJs who were just crazy about it. And they all decided to jump on board. And, we've even got another remix out of Nashville, which is pretty cool. So I think, here in Nashville, we're very well received because we're bringing a new sound to the city, which I think is pretty great. It's known for country. However, they're really getting into electronic dance music there. And so I think TRAX Records is a big part of that. And I'm really happy about that.
And do you think there'll be like a country version of house music and everything, maybe house country or anything like that? It sounds like a possible hybrid might be in the work too.
I do think so, because if you think about Old Country Road and you think the way that they fused hip hop with, country music, I definitely see the advantage of taking country music and actually kind of molding it together with house. I see that coming. And in fact, we've been talking to a young artist called Chris Clark, which you can look at. He's looking at a possible Grammy nomination for his new Billboard song, Glass Half Empty.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, and he had another smash called Girls of Tennessee. So I'm excited for Chris. He's not a TRAX Records artist. He's actually on a label called Tribe 615. You can find Chris Clark also on Spotify. But I'm excited about him because I think he's going to be the country artist, which we're going to add the house music beat to.
That is rather interesting. I like that too. It'd be Next Generation, Used to Hold Me, and in Queen of House. And what are some other songs you wanted to talk about as well too? Maybe that was just dear to your heart, or
Well,
maybe some like what's up and coming.
I think that that the You Used to Hold Me, with fabulous mixes by Todd Terry, that call him Todd the God. He's definitely one of the superstar DJs of today. Did a fabulous job, and I love that, and a lot of people also love it. So that's a very popular cut as well. And then what's coming is that George Cruz, who actually A&R'd my Queen of House album, I think if you get the Queen of House album, which you can download, you can download it on iTunes, you can get it on all the digital platforms, or you can listen on Spotify, but it's everywhere, kind of like your show, Mike.
Well, it is 40 podcast platforms, 100 countries, and I'm sure you can top me that. If it's 41 and 101, you know what? I would definitely applaud you on that one. Go beyond that.
I applaud you. I don't know if I'm doing any more than you're doing, but I do know that Sony's got me in a lot of places. So I give kudos to them for all the hard work that they've done. But yes, George Cruz, who actually did A&R my album, Queen of House, which I recommend people to get because it takes you all the way through my history. And it has so many great songs on it. And it even has some spoken word on it.
Nice.
It has some punk songs on it. I started out as a punk rocker. That was where I heard the night at the raid about Frankie Knuckles. So it's even got, it goes back to that. So Queen of House, I highly recommend. It's definitely near and dear to my heart because, it just kind of encapsulates everything that I've done. And now the new album, which is being A&R'd by the same person who put together the great album Queen of House, we're going to be really featuring a lot of new songs, and we're already starting to record. Like I've recorded something new with Joe Smooth, and I'm going to record with a lot of other people too, as well as I think my album Acidic, which anyone who loves acid house is going to be crazy about. People like Luca Gerlin did mixes for that. Marcus Mix did mixes for that. It's Late Night Dub did stuff on that. It's really a fantastic, array of people. So there'll probably be, a couple cuts from that because since the release of Queen of House, there's been so many new things because I'm really prolific about music. I love to write, and write some more. And then, there are also so many other exciting artists on TRAX. One artist that's really carried this whole trend of acid house is Satek. So
how do you like that?
Yeah, Satek is like huge. He's doing all the huge festivals in Europe at this time, and he is out of England. And we have a lot of people to really be proud of, and I am so proud of all these artists, not only the ones I work with, but the ones who are on their own, who have just made the label shine for these last many years. And of course, like I said, the classic TRAX artists, I'm looking forward to, making amends, having them know the truth. And in the meantime, a lot of the classic house artists, such as Joe Smooth and L.A. Williams, and many others are on board with me and do understand, what happened. It's a crazy business.
Mm-hmm.
When you got something good, they want to take it. And that's all I can say.
Exactly, you're right, and you can add me to a list of Rising as well too. And of course, that's a great song. You can add me to it as well. So
I can't wait. We might have to take some of this spoken word and put it on the next track.
Oh, something too. Speaking of spoken word, you can take whatever you want on the Mike Wagner Show, and feel free to add to the next hit. It's like you just get a hold of a copy and just take a few it. You can just add it. It's like go right ahead.
How about something like, I'm Mike Wagner. Here,
I'm Mike Wagner.
Rachael.
I'm Mike Wagner, and you're listening to Rachael. And by the way, you want what's coming up in 2023 and beyond? We'll talk more about the future. We'll talk about with Screamin Rachael, Rachael Cain. You're listening to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by SonicWeb Studios, and brought to you by our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international war-ring author Mia Molson's The Missing. We'll be back with the Queen of House Music, Guardian of the Threshold, and the Holy Grail of House Music, multi-talented Rachael Cain after this time. We're back with the amazing Rachael Cain, best known as Screamin Rachael, here on the Mike Wagner Show, the Queen of House Music, Guardian of the Threshold, and the Holy Grail of House Music. And by request, I'm Mike Wagner, and you're with Rachael Cain. And I'm Mike Wagner, you were Screamin Rachel. I hope I got that right. So
Yes. All the sound bites about you're here with Screamin Rachel. She's fabulous. I'm Mike Wagner. I'm Mike Wagner. You're here with Screamin Rachel. We can cut that up and make that sound really cool. But I like it because I want to say you have a great voice for broadcasting.
well, thank you very much. And of course, you got a great presence as well, too. And of course, it doesn't stop there. I mean, you got to keep rising and rising and rising. There's no ceiling to it. And you got a lot of great things going on. And speaking of that, what else can we expect in 2023 and beyond, Rachel?
Well, I just absolutely love acting. So you can expect a lot more movies. And as I said, this year, Enter Requiem is coming out. But I'm in the Vamp Bikers trilogy, 3 movies. I'm in Night Owl with John Leguizamo. Now Enter Requiem is my new one, but also Japanese Borscht, I'm in that. And The Duke of New York, I'm in that. So I have quite a kind of a filmography besides my discography. And a lot of them, like I said, Tubi, Amazon, so many of these digital platforms that you can see me in. Oh, and though I can't say who produced it or who is, well, yes, I can because it's already been in Variety. So I can say that, Hillary Clinton is doing a new documentary. So you'll be hearing a lot more about that. And I expect that that new documentary will come out around 2024. And
Oh,
in
wow.
fact, on August 16th, I'm very excited because I'm going to be interviewed about house music and about TRAX Records and about my new song by French TV, which has they have millions of viewers, and it's also, besides being shown in France, shown in Germany, and I'm sure that they'll make subtitles.
Oh,
So people,
wow.
yeah,
Amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm so looking forward to it. And we will watch it. So
I'm excited because, like I said, so much is happening. And obviously, Mike, being on your show, that's another big kind of thing for me. And I really appreciate it. I appreciate what you're doing. And I, definitely do appreciate Eileen, Shapiro, and Jimmy Starr. I mean, they're great people. And of course, like I said, Irene Michaels, I'm so proud of her, because she is amazing. She's beautiful to look at. And she is a definite kind of so charismatic on stage. You'll love to see her. We've done some really big concerts together, probably, 5,000 people in the audience, at the Patio Theater. That was one of the spots that we did it to. And the Avondale, another very big spot that we did a concert at. So she also, which I think is really interesting, does something that I think I'm going to go back to doing. And it's kind of cool because even though I haven't done it for a while, I'm thinking about it. And that is, she does these small, intimate venues too. She really likes to, get out and kind of like really communicate with that crowd. And sometimes when you're communicating to a small crowd, you can really touch the people and you can actually see how you're touching them. Because when there's a big crowd, you kind of see a sea of people, and that's what it looks like. But when you're really in a small kind of a setting, which is what Irene also loves to do, and she performs her originals along with some classics, she's going to be doing that in New York coming up. So she
nice.
probably spoke about that on your show. So I'll be in New York to see her, and I'm going to start doing some of that because, I've been going to her shows and, performing with her on the bigger shows. And I've got to say that it appeals to me to kind of get to that kind of roots of the small crowd so that you can really appreciate how you're touching the people.
That's certainly interesting. You talk about the small venues in Chicago. Maybe think of the Park West, and I think of the Genesee Theater in Waukegan. I think there's one somewhere in the Fox Valley, and I think there was also the Aragon. I think there's the Uptown Theater, and I think there's oh my gosh, I think there's a few more. It's kind of like just escaping me at this point, but I do get what you're saying though.
Yeah, now the big club restaurant that's in the Fulton Market area, known as Carnival, it has a really cool room underground that they call the alley. And he's had Grammy winners in there. And of course, he's featured Irene Michaels. And that's a great little room. Even though it's a small room, it's really getting a lot of publicity. So I think that that is another good place for people to check out. Carnival is having, they do it, I believe, every Thursday night. But
Oh,
anyway,
wow.
it's something to check out because Carnival is in Fulton, on Fulton Market, right in that district. And funny enough, that's where Space Place was, and that's where house music, I would say, started.
Mm-hmm.
So, but now if you compare the Fulton Market area to what it was back then, I mean, it's amazing. Now you've got Google there. You've got places like the Aviary where you're spending $25 a drink and up. It's
Oh
crazy.
my goodness. And I thought I was paying that much for a six pack or even at a Cubs or Sox game, like maybe a couple beers for friends or something.
I know it's insane, but all I can say is we went from being, underground warehouses that were like the predecessor of raves and probably, all the really big kind of underground shows that, are held outside, those kind of things. And also in big warehouses, because that's where we started out, in warehouses where, we kind of hosted like very, in some ways they were probably almost like illegal parties, but not really, because, we did have a right to do them. But I think a lot of people, didn't even understand what we were doing.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And of course, like the venues we mentioned, Chicago. How about in New York? If people want to check out where some of the smaller, intimate venues in New York, you think of the Apollo, and I think there's also let's see, a couple others. It's like I'm having a brain fog right now. So
Well, there definitely is Chelsea Table, where Irene's going to be performing. That's a good little small venue. And what is his name? Randy. You probably had him on the show before. I don't
Randy
know.
Edelman, yes, I had him on
Right.
twice. Amazing guy.
Yeah, because he's done so many great soundtracks and he performed there. And then, what I really like, because it's funky and it's small, but I really enjoy it, is the Producers Club. Now, if you've watched Seinfeld and you see his little comedy skits that he used to begin with the shows,
Yada 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 yada.
yeah, he did those shows, which you see in that small audience that he has with the old shows that they used to put on at the Producers Club. So a lot of people do fun things there, and I've performed there a number of times because it's pretty much like a private club where anything goes. So I love the Producers Club. That's on 43rd Street, kind of around like 9th between, I think it's 8th and 9th Avenue. So that's a place that I really love.
Okay.
But it's so great to see all these wonderful, you know, kind of, I guess, smaller venues, which I think in some ways maybe popping up even more, because I think what happened was the pandemic has changed so many things, you
Mhm.
know? And that's another thing. I mean, if you think about what happened during the pandemic and how it really stopped everything except for virtual shows. And, I'm sure you probably carried on, and I did too,
Right,
because
exactly. And of
yeah,
course, during the time of the pandemic, people ask me, it's like, how'd your show during the pandemic? Because it did great because it's an open forum for people to come on the show. And of course you read the bio as well too, where I end up like in the top 200 at the end of the year on the Apple charts in the US and the world as well too. And I'm trying to remember on that. And I think that year around 2020 at close to the pandemic, it's like I had about, oh my God, maybe 50, 60,000 people, just dialing in on quite a few episodes, especially some stars, Sherry Nelson and Joy Pune, especially Meryl McCoo and Billy Davis Jr. Oh my goodness.
cool. And that's the thing, like we were the first record label to start doing virtual shows, and we were doing a virtual show with a number of DJs from around the world. I'd be in Chicago, another guy would be in New York, somebody would be in Italy, somebody would be in England. It was really pretty cool, and we would do that and we would time it out, so that this DJ would be on then and this DJ would follow. And you're so right, because people had nothing to do on a Saturday night. So we provided them with entertainment. And, I kind of sometimes even miss those days just because, I gotta say, because it was so much fun knowing every Saturday I'm going to do this. And then at the end of the night, all the people that kind of work together on it would all just get on a Zoom call so that we just all kind of communicate with each other. So it was a
Right.
lot.
And of course you play in your kitchen, you play in the living room, play in a patio, rooftop, and some people even got more creative, like, playing in a litter box or something. So
Well, I'll tell you what I thought was the most creative thing that happened with the TRAX Records shows was one of our artists, Jason Chaos, who's another act that you can find on Spotify, and you can find him at, if you look up, the WhatsApp, it's called the Empire Nightlife. Kind of, it's kind of, like I said, it's an app, it's on WhatsApp, but Empire Nightlife. If you are able to join that or tune into them, you can find out a lot of the gigs that Jason Chaos is doing. But the coolest thing I ever saw anybody doing during the pandemic was Jason played in Times Square with no one there.
wow.
No one.
Times Square empty. It's like, he's probably encouraged the ball to drop that early. So
It was the craziest thing, and he's got it on video. It is amazing to see Times Square empty like that. And it was really, no one was there. I finally kind of got on, the phone, and I'm calling a couple friends and said, go to Times Square right now. You could see Jason. He's spinning live. They put speakers out there, and he just did a whole live set in Times Square with nobody. It was amazing. And to see that,
oh my
to
gosh.
actually see New York deserted to that kind of, it was just crazy.
Oh my
But then,
God. It
yeah,
made me think of playing football at Giant Stadium to a crowd nobody, or even like the Mets or Yankees, playing to a crowd nobody, or the Rangers or the Knicks, Madison Square Garden, nobody except for a janitor doesn't know what's going on. So
exactly. And even the Tonight Show, I don't know if you remember, I was watching that, where the Tonight Show, they were doing it out of the house, you know what I mean? And the other guests were also, doing the Zoom out of their house. So I think the one thing that was kind of good about it, it was like an equalizer where your show, my show, we could be equal to anything that was on television because, hey, we had the same kind of tools to work with. We didn't have all these fancy lights and all these cameramen. It was raw, it was real, and that's a cool way to do things.
Mhm. And this is the ultimate virtual reality right here. Unlike these scripted reality shows that you see, it's like, you think it's real, but it's all scripted and everything. It's like, what you see, what you hear, what we're saying on the show and having you on, it's right there. It is unfiltered, it's unedited. It's like having a conversation back in the day, like with old time radio. There was no mute buttons, no cough buttons. You don't edit. It's like whatever's out there, it's out on the airwaves. You can't go back to it.
No, you're so right. And what's been really great, about this kind of forum to me is that, as you said, it's real, it's uncensored. And reality shows, because actually, a few reality shows had actually kind of gotten in touch with me to do these reality shows. So it didn't happen, but I was working with the guy that produced Dirty Jobs, and he was interested in kind of capturing me in New York. Well, the thing was, he got impatient, so he left before the party got closed down and before Michael Alec, who they made the movie Party Monster about, appeared. But the thing was, what was disappointing about that was, man, they were trying to tell me, get upset, get really upset. You're really upset now, cry, do this, do that. As you said, they're telling the people how to react.
Right.
And that's true.
And of course, I watch some as well too. Yeah, that's exaggerated anger and exaggerated laughter and all that. And the reality is, it's like you're just conducting business, just doing normal as well.
Exactly. And I think a lot of the reality people that are on those shows are actually, they're in the entertainment business. A lot of people don't realize many of them are entertainers and have been entertainers. And now you're really kind of seeing them acting. It's kind of really not reality. It's more acting. This is reality.
Hmm. And exactly it. And of course, where can we find all your works at? Your music, your movies, and everything. Where can we find your works at, Rachel?
Well, it's interesting because again, TRAX Records has an official YouTube page, so you can hear a lot of the records, not only my own but other people's, and you can hear some of our DJ mixes on the YouTube page. But also, as I said, there's some great mixes of all the tracks on. I saw something today where if you went on Spotify and you looked up TRAX Records, you could get this mix with, it's got a ton of my songs and it's got, many other TRAX artists. So you can like listen to that. There are so many, and I mean, obviously, Beatport is a great place where DJs like to get their music. And the reason for that is that you can buy a wave at Beatport,
Mm.
yeah, which is interesting because what happens is on Apple, you can only really purchase MP3s, but sometimes these really big DJs, they want to get a wave. So they can get that, on Beatport and TrackSource and a few of these sites that really kind of cater to the
Hmm.
DJ crowd. And then, of course, like I said, a lot of the fans really enjoy Bandcamp. And we've got some rare stuff on Bandcamp just because that caters to fans. But like I said, for the most part, it's Sony that has done fantastic for us and really, put us everywhere that there is music, there is TRAX. Everywhere there is music, there is Rachel. And like I said, the movies, Amazon, Tubi, some of these other, platforms, because these days Netflix is really more about producing their own content. It's rare that they pick up something unless it's huge budgets. And we're doing films along the lines of, let's say, John Waters, things that are like that. They're funky, but they're real and they're fun. And so, these channels like Tubi or Amazon is where you would find a lot of them. There are others too, but those are the two I watch, so I know it's on those too.
And we'll certainly check that out as well too. Love to have you back on when it comes to movies. And just a couple more things, Rachel. Who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
The biggest influence in my career. You mean somebody who really kind of was like a mentor to me?
Anybody in
Oh,
general?
all right. Well, I'm going to say Sylvia Robinson, the woman behind Sugar Hill Records. And why I say that is because when I met her and understood what it was that she did, because she was a recording artist, she was a writer, she was an engineer, she was a producer, and also she was an African American lady, to give her her due. I saw what she was doing, and I really kind of it just opened up my eyes to saying, one day I want to do this for house music. At the time, people would joke, house music, haha, what is that? Something you play in your house?
Right,
You
right,
know,
right. Exactly. It's like with rock and roll. You think that it's never going to survive, and then look what happened. I mean, and with rap too, you're right. I mean, hit upon the points. Like we just celebrated 50 years of hip hop and rap music. I mean, 50 years. I'm like, oh my gosh, where's time gone?
where does time go? And I tell you, Sylvia Robinson started the rap hip hop before Russell Simmons. I think a lot of people don't give her as much due as she deserves. But what is interesting is Lee Daniels, he's quite a famous director, and he directed the show Empire. Well, if you've ever seen Empire, the character Cookie is based on Sylvia, which is, fascinating to me. Except in Sylvia's case, she was the artist instead of, Joe Robinson, the husband. He was not the artist, whereas in Empire, it's Lucas Lyons who's really the artist. But you flip that up a little bit, but you think about the sharp clothes, the all designer, the Rolls Royce, the presence of a Cookie was so much like Sylvia Robinson, and she inspired me to do what I'm doing today, to realize there would be a way that and hopefully I'm going to set the bar for other women to realize that they can also be record company presidents and owners. I had a good meeting with one of the editors at Billboard not too long ago, and I just said to him, can you tell me, one other woman who's doing what I'm doing? And he just said, no, I really can't, because there's not someone doing it. There's
Wow.
not someone being, president of a large established label who's a woman. And I think that there needs to be more people. And I hope to set an example, for girls that may be listening to this, that may have, that inspiration. Maybe they're an artist, as I was and still am, and maybe they want to be in control, thinking that, because sometimes, you might sign a big major label deal, but you could get dropped. They could shelf your music. There's so many things that can happen. Whereas I've always been able to feel comfortable because, I am in control of this music. And I am also, very interesting as a record company president, because I don't just like sign people because of their TikTok numbers. A
Hmm.
lot of people, yeah, they disagree with my style of A&R. But my style of A&R is, first, it's about the music and how I feel about that. And second, it's really about the person, their personality, their drive, what they really want, and also just, general kindness. I don't want any of those stuck up snobs, or any people like that. I just
Or
don't
so
care.
many selfies. Look at me, like 10,000 of the same post.
Yeah, I can't get into that, and there are so many, like, that is exactly what happens. I think what major labels are doing now is they're looking almost strictly at TikTok numbers. I know that because I do a lot of deals with major labels. They license things from us. I do deals with major television shows. We have been, our music has been used for Maison Kitsune and Gucci and Louis Vuitton and, runways around the world too. So I kind of know what a lot of the major labels have started to do, and it's changed.
Hmm.
Where it used to be a lot more on merit because, they were selling CDs and things like that. Now that CDs are totally outmoded, I mean, I guess that's why they're really looking to TikTok stars with big numbers.
Hmm.
They're looking at a whole different way to sign music.
That is rather interesting. I have to get on TikTok sometime and try that out. Hopefully, avoid the selfies and everything. So I'll do that.
Yeah, you know what though? You can actually, as long as you have 1,000 viewers, you can actually do a long show like yours on TikTok.
I like that. I'm come up with some great ideas, Rachel. This is so amazing. I love
Yeah,
it.
I think you should have your show on TikTok also because, maybe a lot of these fans who wouldn't otherwise see you could actually tune into you and learn about you.
I think that's a great idea. We encourage everybody to use TikTok as well. And lastly, what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point, Rachel?
The best advice that I'd like to give anybody is don't pay any attention to naysayers, people that try to tell you you can't. Because one thing that I've learned through all the ups and downs that I've had happen in my career and in my life is that if you believe it, if you believe it with all your heart, your soul, your mind, you can accomplish these dreams. Sure, you need the talent, and I think everybody needs to find their niche. Do you have a good voice for broadcasting? Are you beautiful and you fit the model mold, whether no matter what size you are, because these days, plus models, different age models, but photogenic people of all types. But you find what you love, and then don't let naysayers convince you and tell you it can't be done, because it can. And that would be my advice.
Mhm.
It can't be done.
That's right. And it's being done right here today as well, too. We're here with Rachael Cain, best known as Screamin Rachael. She's got the new release Rising, featuring the title track on the Mike Wagner show, the queen of house music, guardian of the threshold, and the holy grail of house music. Rachel, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Learned a lot from you. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. Once again, what's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your works?
Well, they can get our works everywhere. As I said, definitely Apple Music and any digital platform, really. You can get the music. You can listen to the music at my Spotify, my Screamin Rachael Spotify. So pretty much they can either download the music or they can stream the music almost anywhere. They can see the movies for sure on Tubi and Amazon. There are other platforms, but I don't necessarily know them because I don't use them myself. But and of course, YouTube, you can definitely stream a lot of cuts from the label there. So basically, in today's world, which is a virtual world, this music and just even these movies are available in so many places. And I guess that's another thing I'd tell people as my advice is, we're now in the metaverse, we're now worldwide. Whatever you do, it's capable of reaching people everywhere in the world. So besides ignoring the naysayers, know that you could become an influencer, a superstar, just by going live.
And even the tiniest of islands, you can reach them.
That's true.
There you go. There you go. Once again, Rachael, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Learned a lot from you. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. Wish you all the best. And Rachael, you definitely have a great future ahead of you.
Thank you. Love you, Mike. See you soon.